right now on Denver 7 News at 6 a.m.
I want to be there. I want to live there. I want to be home.
It's like a hellscape out there, and it's crushing for our morale to still see it.
Marshall fire victims are exhausted and frustrated as debris removal is delayed because of a lawsuit.
I'm Denver 7's Veronica Acosta. There's a hearing set for this week over the contractor that Boulder County chose, when that cleanup process could start if the court sides with the county.
Overnight, Russia expands its targets in Ukraine. Now Ukrainians in Colorado are going to incredible lengths to get their families to safety.
Yeah, that was really real. I mean, going into a war zone.
And today marks the start of free agency for the Broncos, who the team might be looking at to fill the gaps in its roster. Yeah, after the big get of Russell Wilson, of course, quarterback, now they got to pair the players around him. And are we going to be on Von Miller watch? That's going to be interesting. Good Monday morning to you. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Micah Smith. We're going to start out with some good news in the weather department because we have several more spring-like days in store for us. Katie LaSalle has your Denver 7 forecast. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, you guys. Happy Monday. It's partly cloudy right now in Denver. We're watching a weak cold front quickly zip out of the state, currently picking up snow down south into portions of our Sangre de Cristo Mountains, west of Walsenburg near Colorado City, and then some rain showers over the southeastern plains, but clearing skies statewide. Temperatures right now are in the low 30s, Denver up through Greeley and Fort Collins, teens and 20s into our mountains. So this morning we'll stay on the chillier side. We'll drop down to 34 degrees by 7 o'clock. You can see we'll gradually climb to the mid 40s by 11, and daytime highs slightly cooler, low 50s for the majority of the Front Range and Eastern Plains, 20s and 30s into some of our mountain towns. And as you can see from Futurecast, very strong winds over the Eastern Plains from the north, but they will calm down later on tonight. Warm and dry for Tuesday, and then a lot more moisture moves back into the region. More on that coming up.
Oh no, not more moisture. All right, well, everything's looking pretty good in the metro right now. It's really all in green this morning, but if you're heading north toward Fort Collins, there's that crash there on northbound 25 near Meade. Take a look from Air Tracker 7 showing that backup. Oof. I would not like to be stuck in that right now. They are detouring people off of the Meade exit. Good news, though, both lanes of southbound 25 are back open. But taking a look around the metro, I mean, if you are headed to the airport for spring break, any big plans, heading out of town, your drive time's looking good. And then as you just go around the metro, I mean, we are all in green. Looking real good out there this morning as long as you're not headed to Fort Collins or Meade. That area definitely seeing some slowdowns. We'll continue to watch that.
Well, it is a big week for the hundreds of our neighbors still trying to recover from the Marshall fire. More than 1,000 homes and businesses were destroyed 2 months ago.
Now there will be major decisions on the cleanup process, and a local congressman is coming to talk about the federal assistance available. Representative Joe Neguse will tour the damage today. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is live near the blocked off burn area this morning with the recovery movement this week. Veronica.
Well, Congressman Neguse will get what every other person and family who lost a home in the Marshall fire has gotten, that ground view of what's left. We're talking about those charred garage frames, those mailboxes that were left behind, and of course those burnt cars in some driveways as well. Neguse will be walking up and down neighborhoods like the one behind me here, not only taking a look at what's left, but also speaking one-on-one with some of those families. And this isn't the first time he's stepping in to help. Earlier this month, he was able to get FEMA to agree to cover the costs of removing foundations, basements, and burned vehicles in the Marshall fire zone. Nearly a month ago, he also spoke about solutions he's looking into for families that are underinsured. Now, one of the toughest parts of all of this has been getting that debris removed. Families have been waiting for that process to start for weeks now. In February, Boulder County commissioners awarded the cleanup to a Louisiana-based company that was out of 11 different proposals. The company said it was capable of starting that cleanup by March 1st and have it done by July 1st, as long as there were no weather delays. But you guys were 14 days into the month and still nothing. That's because there were some lawsuits that were filed holding up that process. And at the end of this week, a judge is set to hear arguments about the debris removal contract lawsuits. Boulder County says the judge should block any holds on the contract because the process was, quote, done properly, and any delay would cause more harm to the fire victims at this point. Now, if that injunction is denied, Boulder County says that cleanup could be finished by July. That's when everything was anticipated to be done and scheduled for as well. We're live in Superior this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
It has been such a long wait for those homeowners, Veronica. Thank you. Today, a fourth round of talks between Russia and Ukraine will take place. Now, this comes as the Russian military expanded its targets, hitting a military facility. The facility was just 10 miles from Poland and is now the closest attack to NATO's border. The city where the attack occurred is along a route used to supply Ukraine with Western military aid. Russian officials are vowing to treat all armed shipments to Ukraine from NATO countries as legitimate military targets. Members of the Biden administration will meet with Chinese officials today. They'll be discussing reports Russia asked China for military and economic assistance. Now, the meeting will take place in Rome. The White House said there will be consequences if China helps Russia minimize its losses from global sanctions. A Coloradan with family in Ukraine returned from the war-torn country last week after rescuing 5 family members. Michael Weinar met his family on the border of Slovakia and Ukraine. Everyone except his brother-in-law was able to cross. His brother-in-law is 36, and Ukraine prohibits any men 18 to 60 from leaving. Michael's relatives are now refugees in Slovakia, but he says Ukraine needs more support.
I think America can do more, and I think America has to do more because they see, tens of thousands of people getting murdered needlessly.
Michael says his family will stay in Slovakia until the war ends, and if the situation escalates, he'll try to move them to the United States.
Well, this morning, Jefferson County officials are trying to identify human remains found in Clear Creek Canyon. Deputies say hikers found skeletal remains on Saturday. They were in a remote area of Tunnel 2 off of US 6 just west of Golden. They say the death appeared to have been at least months, possibly years ago. The coroner's office is still working to find out the cause of death. Denver police are trying to piece together what happened after a call to a stabbing turned into a fire rescue. Police say they were called to a disturbance Saturday near East 41st Place in Green Valley Ranch. And when they got there, one of the rooms upstairs was on fire. Inside, they found a man who had been stabbed and rushed him to the hospital. Another man, police believe to be the suspect, was also in the room and later died at the hospital.
The city of Aurora might soon have a new camping ban. The city council will take up the measure today for a second reading and potentially a final vote, but it's really divided city leaders. Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us with arguments from both sides.
Yeah, Micah, it's very controversial. Some people say it's inhumane and they say it criminalizes the homeless, while others think that this will motivate people to seek shelter off the streets. Now, back on March 1st during the council meeting, when this got the vote to move forward, things got heated, and that discussion lasted for about 4 hours. What this ordinance would do is it would allow police to remove homeless encampments after city officials give them 72 hours notice to move. And if people don't comply, they could face citations, even arrest. But the city would have to make sure that there's enough shelter space available before requiring them to move. And it was exactly a year ago that Mayor Kaufman introduced this ban, and it actually failed back in August. But now it's back on the table. And Aurora would join several other Colorado cities who have enacted a similar ban, like Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. And the latest numbers actually show that there are around 594 people experiencing homelessness in Aurora, and that's actually considered to be an undercount. And this all could get final approval at tonight's meeting. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Christian, and we will be keeping you updated on that legislation. Another piece of legislation we're keeping an eye on, a bill to guarantee abortion access in Colorado. That will go to the House for a third reading today. Over the weekend, the House debated the Reproductive Health Equity Act for 23 hours. If it passes, the bill heads to the Senate. For some context, this bill guarantees a person's right to use or not use contraception. It affirms abortions are legal in the state, and it prohibits state and local entities from denying, interfering with, or discriminating against someone who has had an abortion.
So the Broncos got their new quarterback in Russell Wilson. He'll likely be introduced on Wednesday. Now it's time to fill in the blanks around him. The NFL free agency period begins today. Denver 7 Broncos insider Troy Rank breaks down what the Broncos will be looking for.
The NFL's oxymoron begins today. Legal tampering in free agency. It starts at 10 a.m., but contracts cannot become official until 2 p.m. on Wednesday. That is also when the Broncos are expected to introduce new quarterback Russell Wilson. Listen, if you don't like that acquisition, you must have an issue with Cindy Crawford's mole. But they have other needs as well. Priority number one, get an edge rusher. Chandler Jones is at the top of the list. He played college ball where Nathaniel Hackett coached at Syracuse. If not him, maybe Randy Gregory or Hassan Reddick. And if the chips fall a certain way money-wise, maybe even Von Miller. Defensive line, also an area of concern. B.J. Hill could be on that list, and they also need to look to add a cornerback and possibly even a tight end. Reporting for Denver 7, Troy Rink.
Well, Brian, I know this next piece of news is shocking for you. Turns out retirement was short-lived for Tom Brady.
He just couldn't sit on the sidelines, could he? The future Hall of Fame quarterback is coming back to the Buccaneers for a 23rd NFL season now. After he had that big farewell on social media, everyone had so much to say about it, but he said again through social media that his place is on the field, not in the stands. And there was plenty of talk and opinions about him returning. The Broncos chimed in, posting this gif of a stone-faced Michael Scott from The Office. The Broncos obviously not happy. No surprise here, the announcement impacted the Bucs' Super Bowl odds. They actually jumped the Broncos for better chances this season.
I'm upset about this, but FanDuel Sportsbook says Tampa went from 25-1 to 7.5-1.
Hey, the only time the Broncos would have to play the Bucs next season is in the Super Bowl.
So
we look forward to it.
That's okay. That's right. That's okay.
He's not done yet. Thanks, guys. 6:11, and this morning we're waking up to temperatures in the 30s. Skies will clear across Colorado. Moisture ends into the mountains. Noon here in Denver will be at 48 degrees. We are going to be seeing warm and dry weather today, tomorrow, and then our next Western weather maker will start to make its way in. More on the rain and snow chances coming up.
And I've got some good news for you coming up after that break. That crash there in Meade, traffic is moving. Northbound has officially reopened up there up north by exit 245 where people were being detoured. So more on that update straight ahead.
Well, rising gas prices will make your next Uber ride or delivery a little more expensive. The new fee Uber plans to charge you.
And are you still feeling the effects of the time change? I know I am. Some ways to make the adjustment easier on your mind and body.